Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on good question, May 9th, 2023 at approximately 4:21 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the same tools I personally use in my day to day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the ones I personally live by. Now, with that in mind, before I go any further, okay, the topic I decided to start with today is literally how to become content with your own life now. Okay, now this is the same method I'm personally putting to use. But before I go further, we start off with eternity coming in with the gold, in here with the silver. I voice, you've come in with the bronze, and welcome aboard, people. Yes, in all fairness, I voice, we are. Um, I took the time out. I had a bunch of stuff I had to deal with regarding family, regarding changes that were taking place here. But we'll start with the really good news. It looks, at least I think it's really good news. If everything went well, then my EI after 5 months it should be sitting in my possession within the next 2 days. Do I hold my breath expecting it? Certainly not. How you doing, Emmy? And you are in with honorable mention. Glad you could join us. Now, I am happy to say right now we are sitting, I'm just looking, where are we? There we are. We are sitting at 504 and climbing. Now, I figure it's time to really start pushing the issue. With finances sort of put in place, I should be able to get focused on the rest of it. Now, I made the comment, I made the point yesterday, I think, or a couple of days ago anyway, that I am starting to book ahead. So this week I've got starting topics with, but I asked people, drop me a line in the comments if you've got a topic you would like to discuss. Well, I'm very happy to say, I believe it was Joe that brought it to mind. Okay, but it was asked, do we discuss a topic called the do's and don'ts of having explicit dreams? Now, this was a question, and this was a topic he asked us to deal with. So, that, because I've already booked this week, that will be taking place on Monday. Now, I'll have topics sorted out, but until, because of the fact I will be posting the new ones on Saturday night or first thing Sunday morning, you've got until that time to specify a topic, because I won't lock anything in until that point. But I do have a list of topics and patterns to follow. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm really tired of living one day at a time, hoping I can turn things around. Okay. Now, from my standpoint, that really boils down to this. It's great for me to look in the mirror and go, I've got an idea where I'm heading. What is even better is to have an idea of where is to find out that you've got an idea where you're heading and that you're making headway with it. I figure there are so many billions of people that listen and that sit there and listen to somebody else say, hey, our world's going to end. We're all going to die. We're all going to hell. And I'm thinking it's going to be crowded there, I'll tell you. It is anyway, but not for the reason you're maybe thinking. Okay, so let's get started on the reality of it. I keep this thing handy, that funny little notepad of mine, which, by the way, boils down to a sheet of paper and a cutting board. What did I do? My pen's right there. What have we got? Ironic, like iVoice is asking, is the dream world a part of the spiritual realm or just a product of someone's brain? Intriguingly enough, it's actually both. Dream world is a conglomeration of the neural net, which is the entire amalgamation of all of the sentient brains around. When I talk about sentient, let's understand something very important here. Trees are sentient. So are plants. For that matter, so is fire. Okay. All of it has, most of it, not all, most of it has some sort of cognitive capacity. And it's the interlocking of all of that that makes it rare, that makes it happen. Do understand the dream world, for the most part, is your subconscious reaching out to let you know of things that your conscious may have missed. Okay, this is just the way reality works, at least from what I've seen. So, and this is why I said when we talk about lucid dreaming, really bad idea to learn how to lucid dream, in my opinion. Yes, it's got the wonderful advantage of you can run imagination stories through your head all day long if you choose to. The problem is the purpose of the dreams is for your subconscious to be able to come forth and say, hey, this is what's actually coming in, not this is what you would like to see happen, not this is the way that you would prefer your life to unfold, but this is the side effect of what you've been doing. Okay, so what I've done here, okay, I'm not going to work with that. That's okay, we can do that this way. First thing we look at, ask yourself one question. This is how we're going to get you content with your own life. Okay, ask yourself one question. Are you content with the way your life is right now? Right here, right now. How are we doing there, Shadow? Glad you could join us. Okay. Now, I will tell you, for me, the answer is no. I am not. Okay. There is no way I'm going to sit here and tell you I'm really happy with the way my life is going. I am content with the changes that seem to be taking place, but I won't know for another couple, 3 days. Well, 2 or 3 days. Okay, whether or not it's actually going in the right direction. As you can well imagine, I'm still where I'm still relying on the government to sort things out. Now, where are we here? I require that little sheet because first and foremost, I mentioned this just when I first came on. If you're looking to, if you've got a suggestion for me, okay, this is the best email to connect with. Okay, this is the one I'm into quite regularly. Okay, if you're looking for information on the books that I've got out, and there are more coming, rest assured, this is the best email and the best website I've got for the moment. Although, in all fairness, that may change in the near future. Okay, and I'll worry about that afterwards. But as Shadow is in the house, this is a link to Shadow's YouTube. Okay, so how about you drop over, give him a look-see. If you agree with, if you like what he's saying, if you like what he's producing, absolutely give him a thumbs up. Okay, and then subscribe to his channel. Now, in my case, that goes the same way. You know, call it a self-plug, call it what you will. Okay, if you like the stream, do me a favor and hit and give us a thumbs up, and then hit subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Okay, it is time to change your life for the better now. Let's scrap the idea of is the world going to end? Yes, it is. In a few trillion years when the sun goes supernova, if I understand it correctly. You know, are you going to die? You bet. Some of us more often than others, but are you going to die? Yes. Therefore, now that we've cured the question as to are you going to die, the question is, how are you going to live? Okay. Sad to say, it's real easy to die. Living can be a bit of a challenge. And quantum, Nathan is in here with the quantum show. So let us deal with that here. Quantum show, where are we? right there. And again, this is the link to Nathan's show. Do drop in, have a listen. If you like the way he's putting things, give him a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. That would be really appreciated. Okay. The fact of the matter is, with over 8 billion people on the planet, okay, and that's not counting the other races, that's only counting the humans. Okay. There are lots of people out there, but it's time to get excited about a positive future, not about what could go wrong. Okay. It just doesn't make any sense to me to continue focusing on what could go south. Okay. It just doesn't work out all that well, in my opinion. So, you start off, ask yourself, are you content with your life right here, right now? If there is even one thing you're not content with, that's the first thing we change. Okay, and here's why. When you focus on the negative things and you dwell on what could go wrong, you can bet your bottom dollar it's going to, because you're putting out the energy to draw that negative back to you. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm done drawing the negative back to me. Okay. Now, a couple of things that I have decided to do because I think I finally got finances turned around. Okay. I am starting to work on reactivating an old magazine I did a while ago. I'm going to start off on a very small issue of a newsletter. Okay. Don't know how I'm going to go about getting the distribution. At this point, it boils down to this. I'm going to be relying on email, and or if you desire it, if you desire to receive it on email, it's going to touch on topics, and this is just the foundation right now. Okay, let's minimize that because that's just going to annoy me. Whoa. um it's going to focus on different points that we're covering here. Okay, just little blurbs and what have you. There will be some advertising in it, but I'm telling you, I'm not going to go the route, even as the magazine gets bigger. I will not go to the route of having pages and pages and pages of magazines. Okay, with that in mind, the newsletter, if you desire it, okay, absolutely drop me for the time being, you're going to have to drop me an email address. If you desire a hard copy, I'm going to need a physical address. Do understand, before you start worrying about it, I am not going to be bothering with this whole idea of, oh, if you want the magazine, email, or physical mail, I'm not going the route of going, oh, it's gotten too big, we're starting to charge for it. Sorry, that's coming out of my advertising budget. It's just that simple. Okay. So and all I'm doing on this sheet of paper, this one, okay, is just marking down what I'm working on. Don't know much about the way the newsletter is going to come out at this stage. Only that I'm targeting having it ready to having it ready to mail by the 17th. By the 17th of April. Okay. Needless to say, if I do everything on the 17th, okay, then what I'm looking at is email will arrive on the 17th. Sorry, the delivery from the postal service, that depends on them. I'll get it into the mail and that's where it lands. But I am keeping it to a minimum, to a very small thing at this point. Okay. I would love to hear your guys' input into what kinds of topics or what kinds of areas in the newsletter come magazine you would like to see come up, because this is not a question of is it going to happen, it's a question of I'm tired of sitting on the back burner and hoping things turn, just like I'm encouraging you to get off your tail feathers and start making your life into the life you desire it to be. You know, the nice part about it there, Joe's just said here, I bared my own cross badly, but I'm still here. And yeah, we've all made miscalculations. We've all run into snags. Now is the time to change it, regardless of what you've been through. Okay. None of us can do a thing about what you've already been through. But perhaps I can give you, or somebody in the chat room can give you an idea of how to look at the world a little differently, how to look at what you've gone through a little differently, and maybe, just maybe, find a positive switch to it. Okay. So we got that happening effective. Well, like I said, I'm already starting to work on it. Okay. I will tell you that from that standpoint, I'm looking into doing the whole 9 yards, copywriting the name, the magazine name, the whole thing. I've decided it's enough. I've sat around long enough. Okay. But I mean, we can continue looking at the negative if you'd like. Okay. I will tell you, looking at the negative, that's your option. Talking about it, I'm not debating the negative things happen. But it is time we start talking about and focusing on the positive ones. Ah, Nathan's just said regarding the newsletter suggestions, personal small manifestation, how to mentally listen, and choosing crystals and feeling them. You know, and these are topics that are coming up. These are the first ones. Now, everything that comes up may not happen all at once because I've got to look at space. I've got to figure out how much room I can work with, which really is going to start off with a page or two only. Bear in mind, I'm talking double sided. Okay, simply because, as I said, I'm only one person, but I've got a ratio as far as advertising goes that is all I'm going to be doing. Okay. But do understand the advertising when I talk about the magazine, when the newsletter that will evolve into a magazine, this is not a question of ever charging for it. This is just simply a way of going, here's my added advertisement on top of word of mouth. Now, I'm tired of hearing so many people go, the world is dying, we're all going to die, we're overpopulated, the aliens are coming, God's going to wipe us out because he's upset with us. Frankly, God comes in, wipes us out, the aliens come in and kill us all, your problems are over, at least in this corporeal life. Okay. Now I'm telling you, this is a lousy way to look at the world. You know, it was funny. I remember just on the fifth, and I lost a lot of traction when I lost my job. And the stupid part was I saw the job coming to a close 5 years earlier. The stupid part was I didn't do anything about it. Okay, lost a lot of traction in my own outlook. And then the other day, and of course on the fifth, quite literally, where are we here? I want this one up. No, I desire this one up. Where are we? Copy. On the fifth, I was on Spaced Out Radio, and it was really neat from my standpoint. And there's a link today to Spaced Out Radio. We were on the site, and Dave made the comment, the host, that he really desired to run into a Bigfoot. So I'm sitting there, and all I did was went, "Here's where it is." And if you listen to his last show from from May 5th, okay, I laid out where the site was that he would find what he was looking for. Now it hasn't been tested yet, as far as I know. Maybe Dave's done it. I just haven't heard from him. But what I do know is when I laid the site out, he did tell us on air that although I've never been out there, the site was described properly. Now, I combine that with my own knowledge of the way that I am able to manifest healing. I figured it's time to really start putting this to work. Whoop, hate that. No, that's a pretty hard word. Well, more to the point, boys, it's not that they like him, it's that they don't dislike him. Right. I mean, they do like him from the standpoint of he does treat them properly. And he does treat their areas with respect. That is the whole key here. Because you gotta remember, the Bigfoot people are weighing in. I don't know if I've got that. Thank you for reminding me of that. They have a very simple way of life. Okay. They are some of the gentlest people I've run into. But the fact that Dave treats the place with respect, I don't know. Don't think he's told a whole lot of people where it is. I know when I was referencing it on Spaced Out Radio, I know I referenced it by where your primary gifting site is. And for those of you who are not aware, a gifting site is a place where you can leave clients, but hopefully that'll catch up. Shaq, how you doing? Glad you could join us. So I mean, when we're looking at that, I took a look at that issue and some of the other kind of confirmations and corroborations I recently got. That I recently received from other people. And it's like, okay, I know how to manifest. This is clear cut. I've been living on my savings for the last several months. And finally, it looks like I'm starting to move forward. Hopefully, this is the case. I'll know that in a couple of days, and we'll certainly keep you posted. Because once it gets moving, then I'm sitting in good shape. And where are we? We are sitting there. I'm just watching because I've got what I keep looking over for is I've got another monitor up here that I can see. And why don't I do that of all the silly things? Grab that and we can move that over onto this one. And then I don't have to look back. I've got one monitor over here so I can see the screen the same way you see it. It tells me if I've gone into a holding pattern. So we take a look at where your life is. Okay, take a look. Are you content with it? Now, how do you get your feeling of contentment back? Well, figure out what you're not content with. Okay, what I've been doing is I took my office, straightened it out to the point that I'm quite content with it at this point. With touch and go whether I was actually going to make it on today. I do know this week is a little funny because I'm on today. I will be on tomorrow, and I've already posted yesterday or the day before. I posted Saturday night. What the topics this week are going to be. Okay, and of course, I did drop a post to let everyone know that Monday, the 15th, we will be looking at the topic of, at this neat little topic. And what was it here? I've got a good memory, just short. The topic of explicit dreams and what, whether or not they're a good thing, how to work with them. Let us do this. Let me refresh that to see what happens. There we go. Now, the nice little part about it from my end is this. Okay, pick something that you're not content with. From my standpoint, like, let me ask you this. Do you have, and of course, you don't have to tell me by any means. Okay, but do you have a goal, something you desire to change in your own life that you're not personally content with? Okay. That would be the first thing you look at. Um, that's a cute thought I voiced, but no, in all fairness, I likely will not. I will talk to you about some of the dangers of them. And I voice is just added here. One of these weeks, Keith will show us how to play with the Ouija board and what spirits we can summon. Yeah. I am a firm believer that whoever took that tool and turned it into a play toy and said, hey, this is a really fun thing to do, is the same kind of genius that figures playing Russian roulette is a brilliant way to spend the afternoon. Okay. I mean, it is, it's got to be one of the most dangerous toys that anybody has ever tried to turn into a plaything. Okay. It's like telling a Canadian from from the North Country, oh, go out and play with a baby Wolverine. This is a really smart move. Just run up and pet them. I'll tell you, this is just asking for a problem. But with that in mind, I will absolutely add to the list the idea of the do's and don'ts, or more to the point, the safeties and the benefits and problems that can arise from use of the Ouija board. Is a Ouija board a tool that is viable? Certainly, but it is not a plaything. Okay, but will I put a topic together? Will I tangle with that one? The answer is yes, I certainly will. I'm just not going to show you. I will tell you how it can work, certainly. Am I going to show you how it can work? No. Okay. But I do have one design here that eventually I will end up building. That is absolutely fantastic, Emmy. Yeah, Emmy's just saying, I'm pretty much contented with my life now. I finally have peace and quiet. And she hasn't quite finished, so we'll leave it there and get back to that in a bit. She's finally got peace and quiet, and this is a good thing. Okay. Because, on the whole, I can look at the way my life is. I can tell you I'm not done changing it. But is it overall starting to move in the right direction? Yeah. Okay. But there are always things, in my opinion, there are always ways that you can change it, that you can improve it. One of the biggest things that you have to look at is take a look at the overall picture. And this applies to projects that you've got, things that maybe you were looking at doing when you were a kid and had gone, I desire to attain this kind of life by the time I'm 20. Now, if you're over 20, you're not doing it by the time you're 20. Yeah, narcissists, in all fairness, Emmy, can be a royal pain. Okay. And, unfortunately, they say blood is thicker than water. Well, they are right. Take blood, pour it on, spill a little on the table, spill a little water on the table. You'll find the blood is thicker. It doesn't flow as freely. Okay. But the fact that that you two were born as sisters does not mean that you have to tolerate that kind of destructive behavior. Karmic law is pretty cut and dried. Be true to yourself first. Which means you draw the boundary around your own life. And this is something that I strongly encourage you to do. All of you. If you haven't done so already, put boundaries in place that you are personally content with. Okay. Now, I've told people about this. This tool is the same one I tell people to use regarding their own business. But your home and your business are the same thing in principle. The home, your house, your living situation, you've got to pay your bills. You've got to keep food on the table. You've got to have insurance in place. Okay. And you've got to have rules as to why to deal with them. Okay. Now, some people call this policies and procedures. Okay. I just call it a policy book, both for your life and for your business. Okay. But what you do in that, when you're putting that together, and this is something that is, like I said, I'm just making notes because these are things I'm also doing for me. Okay. Policy book. You put the date down, whatever date and possibly whatever time, if you choose to be that detailed, whatever date you make the policy. Okay. And I strongly recommend you do this tonight to start with. Okay. Mark down the date. Write down what the policy is. For instance, I've got a policy already in place that bills get paid as soon as they come through the door. Okay. This may not be functional from your standpoint. It may be a case of you take a look at it and go, okay, on the 17th or on the 15th of the month or whatever it is, any bills that have come in, you make the payment. Now, of course, this presupposes that you've got the finances to do so. Okay. But you put the date down, what the policy is, and why you made the policy. Okay. Now, this is something that can be changed as you go along, but it will help you stay focused on what you're content with. Okay. And my recommendation is every 3 months. Go back every 3 months or every 4 months, but I recommend every 3 months. You go back over the policies and make sure they still apply. Okay. By doing that, you set up a solid foundation to make your life work for you. Now, remember, when we're talking about policies, we are talking about what you're content with, not necessarily what other people are content with. Okay. And by the way, this applies to bloodline friend, bloodline family, strangers, friends. Doesn't matter. It applies to everybody without exception. Okay. Remember, you must follow the laws of the land in which you are, which means, and I just use this as an example because it's simple. Okay. If the community if the community you're living in says you're not allowed to smoke, okay, then that's fine. In the community, you can't smoke. Now, with that in mind, in your house, you cannot sit down from a karmic standpoint. You can't say, hey, it's my house. You can smoke in my house. Okay, because you're going against the laws of the community in which you live. Conversely, if the community says you're allowed to smoke wherever you choose, in your house, you can absolutely say, no, you cannot smoke in my house. You can smoke outside, but you can't smoke in my house because you're not breaking the karmic law. You're following the laws of the community, okay, by letting them smoke out there. But you're adding a law that is more specific in your house. Okay. Now I just found out about somebody who unfortunately their environment has created their childhood environment created a massive mess to their current health. Okay. And this is the same for you guys. Remember, whatever you do is going to affect the people around you. Some of it for the good, some of it not so much so. Okay. But I'm a firm believer from what I've seen in just this chat room. I'm a firm believer that we can spread the word, that we can make this world work, in spite of the mess it's in right now. Now, I'll tell you, we cannot change the fact that it got to this state, but we can certainly alter the path it's on. Okay, but that's going to require your work, my work, and none of us are better than the rest. Okay, this is going to be a joint venture. So you start putting boundaries together and you go, okay, this is what I'm doing, which is why I've got these topics being dealt with here. Okay, now, like I said, just briefly, tomorrow I'll be looking at, well, can't read that distance. Tomorrow on Wednesday, we'll be looking at why clutter creates a problem. Big J, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Last I talked to them, which by the way was not this week, but things are progressing nicely on their end. It's neat because they are currently modifying the way they're doing things with the Venusians. Now understand, the Martokians and the Venusians have had a treaty for a great number of millennia. Okay, because the Martokians are definitely more warlike than the Venusians ever were. But the Martokians aren't great on the artistic side. I am Pam. How you doing? Glad you could join us. You know, the nice part about what they're up to, what the Martokians are up to is they're reaffirming really their contract that if the Venusians end up in a problem, the Martokians will step in from a military standpoint to protect the Venusians. And the reason for that is because the Venusians are a very creative, very peaceful group, not really high on the ball on the mantle there of conflict. Henry, glad you could join us. Hopefully your day's been going well. And if you've got questions, even if they're not on the topic that we're discussing right at the moment, do me a favor and absolutely put your question all in caps. This is not shouting in this chat room. This is simply a way of you standing and waving your hand. Now, that being said, I Am Pam has shown another method that will work. What I Am Pam has done is took a little hand and put multiples of it after a comment. This again will draw my attention to the comment. Okay, because I get people often that will say, hey, you missed the question I asked. This is because when it's all written in little letters, I don't see it. Okay, and sometimes the screen scrolls so fast, I really don't know. Number one, I don't know how to stop it from scrolling, really. Okay, and it can become really problematic trying to track it. But you pick the things that you're content with. Okay. Now, the nice part about it, oh, by the way, just so you're aware, when I get the Races of the Worlds out, I've got to look at that today, actually. I believe the last couple, I've got another couple pictures just to sign off on. Oh, I appreciate that little piece of information. Thanks, Henry. Henry's just saying sometimes YouTube doesn't show you messages. You go censorship, I guess. Okay. And this is something I watch for, which is why I refuse to deal with certain topics, or only really cursory. I don't get into political perspectives. Okay, number one, I don't track politics. So I'm really not the voice to listen to in that department anyway. I'm not a social analyst. Okay, I will not tangle with religion, with mainstream religion, primarily because there is a major discrepancy from a lot of people. And I already had my hand slapped once for making a comment about a social event a while back. And all they did was they just slapped my hand and said, hey, this is your first offense. Don't do this again. Okay. Remember, you must follow the laws of the land you are in which you are. In this case, YouTube has certain guidelines. Okay. And I'm not about to tangle with them. Okay, I'm just not that interested in having my channel shut down. Okay. With that in mind, Dave did suggest that I start doing real short blurbs about some of the characters I've worked with in gaming, possibly some of the characters I'm writing about, and different. And when we're talking short, we're talking 5 minute, 5-10 minute blurbs. Okay. Now I think I figured out how to do that, and I'll find that out shortly. Okay. So I'm looking at that. Looking at the top of the chat here. Yes, I see those. Yeah, I see those there, Pam. Pam's just saying at the top of the chat, the 3 triangle lines. Okay, got that. Okay. Now, what I don't know is which one of those to actually hit. Send feedback, toggle, pop-out chat, toggle moderation activity, participants, and where are we? Okay. It defaults to top messages. Oh, okay, you're looking at the down triangle. No, okay. Okay, so if we go to live chat, I take it that'll put everybody's messages in. Oh, okay. So we shift that to live. Live chat's oh, perfect. Thank you so much there, Shaq Valet. I do appreciate that. So I've shifted gears on that. Oh, that shifted gears on YouTube, but on the stream. And now we've moved that to live. Okay. Now that will hopefully help. That'd be nice. I'm still, I've been doing this now since March 6th of 2021. So I've just been over 2 years now. And, I'm still doing my best to learn. And I am intending very, very soon, as soon as I can arrange time with somebody, to sit down and get that funny little app called Buy Me a Coffee up and running. Okay, as Dave informed us, we gotta have 1,000 memberships, like 1,000 subscriptions, before YouTube opens up the super chat thing. Well, I'm still just shy of 500 short of that. Okay, because I'm sitting right now at 503. Yeah, that fluctuates. Let's hit refresh just because. Okay. But no, I certainly appreciate for me, this is kind of a learning thing on the go at the same time. Now, if everything went well with my fighting with EI, with, employment insurance, hopefully in the next couple of days, I will have my first check come in, which will be my first solid income in 5 months. Wonderful. Raven, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And let me see. Yes. And what is it? 19? Yeah. And yes, Raven, I do have you scheduled, or more to the point, I've got me scheduled for the rabbit hole for 7 o'clock tomorrow night, PST. Now, that said, I don't think I've got your YouTube channel. I don't think I've got the site for it yet. Okay. Which we do have. I do require it in order to start posting it up here. Okay. It would be nice. From my standpoint, I'd appreciate it. Okay, from your standpoint, hopefully it'll help. But you take a look at where your life is, and you okay, what am I not content with? Now, I've already started, and where is it? I don't think that's right. Nope, that's not. So it should be this one. This is that neat little database that I'll be using for emails, for for whatever. Okay. I don't use a whole lot in the way of electronic tracking, primarily because of the fact that I don't trust it as much as I might. Usually because I end up frying the poor thing. Okay. But so I'm looking at growing this, and the way I figure it is this: if we can have several billion people listening to somebody say the world's going to end, okay, I will tell you, you are going to die. There's no question. You will at one point die. Okay, this is just a question of when. Now, dying is the easy part, but how are you going to live? How are you going to wake up in the morning and go, this is something I'm looking forward to? Absolutely, I am, Pam. 90% of my day is spent working while I'm puttering around the house. And I will tell you, see, I heard the definition of an entrepreneur put this way. An entrepreneur is somebody that is willing to work 16 hours a day for themselves so they don't have to work 8 hours a day for somebody else. Now, this does mean that you've got to have more in place regarding your finances, which is why one of the little booklets I'm working on now, which is Believe in Your Finance and Follow Your Dreams. I'm putting it onto paper already. I'm hoping to have it out before the end of the year. Okay. Again, with these Believe in Your series, or BIY, if you will. Just trying not to hurt myself here. Put that over there. Okay. Well, yep, balance is shot. But then I was out and about a whole lot. Okay. Now, there will likely be 12 of these. This is Believe in Yourself. This one, Believe in Your Business. I am working on Believe in Your Finances. Okay, but you'll notice both of these are really, really small. That's because much as there's information that is absolutely invaluable in my eyes, and in the eyes of many people that have picked it up. Okay, I have kept it as simple as I can get away with. Okay, now if you're interested in those, below this video, you'll find a whole list of ways of getting a hold of me. You'll find a real short summary of the different books that I've got and how to order them, that sort of thing. Okay, and before I go any further down there, Joe has just asked. Oh, Joe's just asked. Keith, on Ouija board, have you seen that typed really funny? I'm guessing you're referring to have you seen them? Okay, and the answer is yes. I've got the designs for one I'm making. I have actually played with them. Okay, and that, like I said, well, I think what we'll do is this. And again, I will post this. I will post this on Sunday night, or not on Sunday night, on either Saturday night or Sunday morning. But for my edification, I just go to this channel, to my hard calendar here. Put those back where they belong. Grab my pen, and we go. Tuesday. Okay. So we have now booked Ouija in for Tuesday. Okay, yes, that's a week down the road. But, and we're going to find, quite frankly, you'll all find the same thing, that as the topics list, we will end up setting them down the road. Now, there will come a point where I'm going to have to look at it and go, okay, it's not going to be able to stay first come, first serve, but for the moment, it absolutely will. Okay. If I get too many topics down the road, then I'm going to have to start looking at it because some may become very pertinent at the time, and I'm not going to make excuses for that one. Okay. Um, the nice part, just with that in mind, Henry's just said, if my question is too long and in all caps, it doesn't like that either. Therefore, with that in mind, it may be an idea to just either use the waving hand sigil or what's it called? Emoji. Or just put my name in all caps to start with, then put the question. Again, the all caps will break it up and draw my attention to it. Oh, I've done better than that, Joe. I've used a Ouija board in the cemetery. I do caution you that can be an interesting experience. So yeah, technically I've seen them used. Okay. It's been a long time since I've bothered, but if I go back to my mid-20s, that was quite a normal thing. Okay. Either by in a cemetery where you sit down, but you got to remember, if you're going to do something like that, you're going to draw some really curious looks and probably some really unhappy individuals. I'm talking about unhappy physical individuals, not the spirits. Spirits love to talk, I find, and most of them are decent people. Okay, it's just when you yank one across, when you force them into the open, that's where they get testy. But then you think about it. If you force a person into a situation they're not content with, they get a little testy. Spirits are no different. They just don't have the physical body. You know, and again, these are things that you may choose to experience, but absolutely imperative. Whatever you're planning on doing, whether we are talking about learning to cook, about remembering how to market, remembering forensic science, remembering how to deal with how to communicate with the deceased. Okay, talk to somebody that has done it themselves successfully. Okay, now this is why I say I can tell you how to make money work on a small base. Can I honestly say this is how it worked for me to become a millionaire? Not yet, but give me a little time. Okay, I finally got my head on straight on that one. Now, Henry has asked here, after death, does the state of the body affect a lingering spirit? No, not at all. And I'll tell you why. Okay, when the body dies, the spirit gets out of the body. Now, think of it this way. If you own a car, okay, and the car gets totaled, but you yourself are still okay, you'll get out of the car, okay, and you'll walk around. Now the car will in time decay. Go to any vehicle graveyard. Piles of rust where the vehicles are collapsing. The prior owners of those vehicles are not, their life is not a shambles because the body is collapsing. Same applies to your physical body. Okay, when the physical body passes away and you leave the physical body, okay, the state of the physical body has no functional bearing on your state. The only time that may be a different issue is if you turn around and you sit there dwelling on, oh, my body's decaying. You know, I mean, you could get really caught up in the negative side of that. Okay, you really could get caught up in the negative side. But if you don't dwell on it, it will have no functional bearing on you. The actual physical decomposition of the body has no functional bearing on on your soul, on your spirit. Okay. It just is a case of the body itself has now become separated and it's not something to functionally worry about. You know, so you take a look at that. And again, We've got all this, like you can see behind me, like over here. Where is that? Way back there. Okay. I've got stuff that is still on shelf that I don't require. Hey Derek, how you doing? It's funny. I look at this, and one thing. Whoa, Chad, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Now, just to be clear, Derek, I mentioned this before. When I'm dealing with referring to who's talking in the chat room, I work with what the title is, as in what the name comes in at. No disrespect intended for anybody. Okay. But the reality is I find it very difficult to keep track of what name I'm working with. Ultimately, very correct, Amy. The body is a vehicle. When your body dies, you get out of it, you walk around for a bit, go find another body. Very much like if your car dies. You may walk around for a bit before you get a new one. Okay. Now, where am I? I was looking for, I know what I was looking for here. Chad. Chad has just come into the chat room here. And again, this is the link to Chad's YouTube channel. So absolutely, like I've said before, drop in, take a look at what he is and what he has to say. If you like what he's saying, okay, if you like the way his YouTube channel goes, do give him a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel, okay, because it really does help. As far as I understand it, the thumbs up helps with the algorithm. Okay, and Chad's got some really neat ideas. He covers some pretty different topics on occasion, but always intriguing. Well, almost always. And don't get me wrong, there are topics that every channel covers that somebody doesn't appreciate. Yeah, there's a lot of things I recommend. Like, I was asked one day if I knew how to work with them. I've got the design for a Ouija board that one day I'll get around to actually making. Okay. I've got no fear of the things, but then I also know how to use them. People that know how to use fire don't fear it. Okay, they respect it and it works well for them. If you don't know how something works, I'm telling you, find out how it works from somebody that knows. And yes, on Tuesday I will cover the safe way to deal with that. Okay, but I certainly do not recommend using a Ouija board in a gravesite. Okay, much like I do not recommend smoking near a gas plant. This is just a disaster waiting to happen. Okay, but the one thing, and this is something that people have to really keep an eye, yeah, I've started doing that as best I can there, Derek. I caught that. I think I'm sure I responded to you on that one. I do usually on a daily basis now go in and try and catch up with it right away. Because the way I figure it, I finally got most of my finances, I think, worked out. Okay. Now, I don't have a lot of money, but I am planning on modifying that little procedure. Okay. It's not that I have a lot of concern about it. It's not that I care about the finances themselves. Oh, Raven, for me, it was simple. I ended up with a whole lot of quantifiable visitors gathering around that all wanted to have a word. When I say quantifiable, there were 2 other people with me at the time, and the place was just crawling with spirits that were not staying in their grave sites. And you could watch them climb out of the grave to come over and have a word. Really fascinating conversations. But I'm telling you, for most people, it's a little disconcerting. And before anybody jumps on that, no, none of them came home with me. Because in this case, I actually didn't invite them. And yes, I will quite readily invite spirits to drop by. You know, but for me, my father, before he passed away, way before he passed away, told me the one thing he worried about with me was that I had no fear of the metaphysical world. Probably should have developed some, you know, instead of this idea of, okay, so so you're claiming to be the right hand of Satan, and I'm supposed to fear you. I'm not going to do that. Absolutely, and thank you so much for that, Derek. Derek just said, I want to give a shout out to Nathan, the Quantum Show. I've been watching his videos sometime. Some of them have been pretty interesting. And I'll do one better for you there, Derek. Where are we here? We go up in here and we go, Nathan, where are you? Don't think I've put this in. If I have, it doesn't matter. Won't hurt. But here's the link to Nathan's show. And there we go. I absolutely agree with you there, Derek. He's got some very interesting topics. They get a little, it gets a little a little sidetracked on occasion, but like I'm one to talk about getting sidetracked. But you take a look at everything in your life. Okay, you desire contentment in your life. Find what you're not content with. That's going to be a whole lot easier in most cases than figuring out what you are content with. Okay, so you take a look at it and go, this is where my world is sitting. I'm not happy with this. Like, for instance, I'm looking at, just to give you an idea, magazines come out, and have been some magazines that came out that were brilliant in the metaphysical field. And then they turned around, and instead of focusing on the field, they changed their gears and focused on advertising. And they turned it so they had pages and pages and pages of advertising. Now, I will tell you, I'm looking at, and I've got to work out the algorithm completely. Wonder if I've got a copy of it here. I don't think so. But I'm only going to be starting off with probably, I may do 3 pages. Okay, double-sided to start with. But to start, I've got to figure it out, but here's the reality behind it. I'm going to work it out so the advertising, and yes, will I take advertising down the road? The answer is yes, I will. But I'm going to be very limited on how much room I've got to work with. Now, Henry's asked, can a spirit choose anywhere in existence to manifest, or does it need to be a place they've been? Absolutely, they can choose wherever they desire, whatever vibratory rate they choose. The only thing they are limited to is spirits from this third dimension must manifest within the third dimension. They cannot manifest in the fourth, fifth, 12th, none of it. They are stuck in the third. They can't even go to the first and second. They've got to manifest in the third. Okay. And I will tell you before you jump on that, okay, can the spirit manifest way back in previous years? You remember that thing about you can't go back in time? Same applies to spirits. Okay, you manifest in the here and now. Okay, but you can choose where you show up. You can choose what race you are, what life type you're going to have. Okay, now there are some people that are still so connected to their last life, and many of the people I've met that have this issue are connected to a past life on another world. Okay, but what you got to remember is if you're here now and you look in the mirror and there is a physical body there, okay, that's the body you're working with. Now, most of the people that manifest, whether you relate to it or not, isn't a relevant concern. Okay. I absolutely agree with you there, Derek. I've never actually made the trip, but I've heard a lot of really good things about Sedona, you know, and I certainly recommend it. From everything I've heard, it is on my, if you will, bucket list. But it's a little hard to get into Sedona if you don't leave your house much. Because I don't know about you, but I think moving my apartment building, not only is it going to be problematic, but it means I have to take a lot of people that don't necessarily want to go with me. Okay. Now, Raven's asking, do you find that a lot of souls don't cross over and stay earthbound? Not as many as you might think. Okay. Most actually end up moving on. But where it gets confusing is when somebody passes, the people left behind are so intent on the fact that they lost this individual that they are constantly bringing up what the individual went through. The soul itself, in most cases, is not bound. It may still be in transit. And this can happen on average about 70 years. Okay. When people are manifesting as a human, the average time seems to be about 70 years. So anytime in that period, people may consider it that they are trapped or that they're earthbound. What it is they haven't made up their mind what they're up to. Derek is just going. The guest last night, Hoodoo Tall, lives there. He was on Dave Scott's show. Yeah. From what I gather, Sedona is a wonderful little place to drop into. I've heard of it. I've heard people recommend it for years. Okay. As a matter of fact, one of my mentors swore by it. I just have never made the journey myself. One day I may well, but for the moment, it's a question of getting back on my feet and getting things moving the way I desire them to. But the real key here, if you really desire to become content with your life, find each and everything that you are not content with and redirect the energy so that you are content with that energy. Because the reality is, once you eliminate the things you're not content with, all you are left with is the positive side. Okay, is that feeling of contentment. Okay. If you notice right above my on air sign, there's a little lighthouse there. Now that lighthouse is the same one I use for the backs of some of my books. Okay. This is why I can honestly say this is not a question of it being a stolen picture from anywhere. I've got the thing right behind me. Okay. And you can see I've got various different things on the wall above me. I'll probably end up adding more in time. I'm going to be set up in this room for a while. Okay. And that's because of the fact I had to make adjustments in my own life. But I will tell you, one of the biggest things that you have to look at where it comes to getting rid of the negative energy or the bound energy is take a look at the clutter in your life, the disorganization in it. Now is the time to change that, to focus on the things that are happening of a positive nature. Okay. Very important from that standpoint. Now, can we make this a better world? The answer is absolutely yes. And certainly, if you've got questions, definitely ask. When I was talking to my EI contact regarding self-employment, she herself asked if I was going to continue with the consulting. And the answer there is definitively yeah. I have decided I am going to. Okay. Now, will I do consulting online? Like if somebody says, look, I need to answer this really complicated questions. Sometimes I won't give you an answer here. I'll just simply tell you, I'm not answering that here. Okay. But do I book private sessions? Yeah, I absolutely will. Okay. My primary focus is still going to be on the books, the writings, the newsletter come magazine. But the newsletter isn't set to come out. The first one will be coming out on it'll be released, and this is something I've already got written down. So this is not I'm hoping. It's going to come out in print at that point. Races of the Worlds, I'm in the middle of finalizing the edit on it, on the expansion and what have you. Taking a little longer than I would have liked. But I'll tell you, my life goes sideways a lot of the time. And therefore, trying to set a definite deadline when something's going to happen, I'd love to say I've got it down to a fine art. I do. I avoid making deadlines a lot of the time. You know, so we have to look at the way your world is and go, are you content? If the answer is yes, more power to you. This is great. Okay. From my standpoint, it boils down to making small changes. The answer there, Big J, is yes. Okay, now, where are we? This one here. Now, this is Races of the Worlds. Okay, this is the one we're referring to. Now, this is the first printing. Okay, it's got 59 races and is 64 pages long. Okay, the new one is still going to be called Races of the Worlds, but it's the second printing. Every one of the races will have a picture as well as added information. Okay, just to give you an idea of some of the added information that's already scheduled. Let me see here. No, I do not want the first race. I'm just looking for the amount of technology that was in it. Okay, now in this book, okay, there's 2 pages that have a little bit of technology in them. Okay, where are they? I think it's only 2. Glossary. 2. Nope, my apologies. Well, it did, but the new page, the new edition. Well, first of all, it still only got the 59 races in it, but the book is already 84 pages long. I'm looking at the same size, okay, but a whole lot deeper. Okay, what do we got here? Do the ETs? Raven's asking, do the ETs go to a different afterlife? And the answer there is number 1. Well, I'll answer part 2 first. Okay, do each species have their own dimension? There is only one dimension that anybody in the 3rd dimension has. Nobody goes to the 4th dimension, 5th dimension. That is all a massive fallacy in my experience. Okay, it's a major misconception. But all races, all species, animal, plant, animal, plant, ancient race, off-worlder, humans, doesn't matter. You all end up in the same place. One of my best friends passed away when I had the stroke 4 years ago. Now that best friend, I had some beautiful conversations with him. His name was Gordon. He was a croton. Now, a croton is not an alien race. It's a plant. But we used to have great conversations. He was one of the first ones that really made contact solidly, right, on a private level to really discuss what was going on. I'll tell you, it came in, and yes, I know that sounds totally insane, but I've got 3 different shrinks that have told me that, no, you're perfectly fine. No tolerance for stupidity, but you're perfectly fine. In a manner of speaking, okay, understand the 1st dimension only has one point to it. It all takes place at once. Now, can I tell you that is all? That can I tell you how to understand that? Not really. Your brain, and this is no insult to any of you, but the human brain is, or for that matter, the corporeal brain, is not in the third dimension, is not prepared to comprehend true life in the first dimension or in the second. Okay, the way that we identify first, second, third dimension, that sort of thing, is the way we determine it in the third dimension. But I'm telling you, the reality behind it when you get there is absolutely bizarre. Now, to be clear, do I jump between the first, second, fifth? Do I have free will to go where I will? No. I am stuck in this dimension just like you are. And I will be here until I pull all of myself together the same as you do. Okay. This is still the same situation. That was a nice noise. This is the same situation we all face. We are here to remember who we are. And what that means is all of your component parts are scattered out there. Okay. Let me see here. And it's really numbers beyond numbers. And there's no way I'm going to deal with that. Okay. But you take 12 times 12 and you do that 12 times. And I don't think I've got a calculator. Even my computer, I don't think will give me an actual answer to that without going into the nth decimal. But all, the first, second, even the fourth dimension, people have tried to explain them. One dimension is a point. That's not in reality the way it works. But essentially, it's the best way to look at it. People are making the mistake of thinking a dimension is a physical thing. So, second dimension is just length and width. That's not the reality. But it is the only way that humans can sort it out, as it were. Well, yeah. Now take 144 and multiply that by 12, Derek. You got 1728. Multiply that by 12, and you repeat the process until you get to the 12th cycle. Okay. Is a starting point. But understand, this continues on in perpetuity. Meaning, the first people and the first spirits that came across and separated had that many component parts. The second batch had that many as well. And it just continues on down the road. Okay. And this is why I say it's numbers way beyond what the human mind will wrap itself around. Now, just for sheeps and giggles, I may turn around and calculate it out and just post the number and go, there it is. Okay, which isn't a bad idea entirely. So why don't we? I'm not doing that right now. Okay. I just made a note for myself to do that calculation. And all it's going to take is doing the calculation and then turning around and posting it just as here's the numbers. Adam, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And look at that, you're not in the last couple of minutes here. Derek says, I recommend this movie, A Beautiful Mind, starring Russell Crowe, came out in 2002. I seem to recall that coming out. I don't think I've ever watched it. Okay. It's funny because I don't take a lot of time to watch movies. I think that might have to do with writing too many books at the same time and having too many other things on the go. But the reason I say you desire contentment in your life, start altering the energy of everything you're not content with. Okay. One of the biggest things I will warn you is if you've got a mirror that is facing, that you see as soon as you open the main door to your house, there's a reflective surface that you immediately see. That is a problem. Okay, right off the bat, that's a problem. Take some sort of plant, ivy works best, whether it is a live plant that you put at the corners, or a decal, or a fake plant, doesn't matter. Okay, but put plants around the frame. Okay, especially at the 4 compass points, because this will help stabilize things. You know, the nice part about I just was reading, Derek says he's a genius mathematician. I dealt with a mathematician a number of years ago. I asked him a question that was pure math. And I tell you, these people look at the world in a weird way, but it all makes numerological sense to them. And I don't mean numerology as in, one means command or whatever. I'm referring to just the numbers themselves. Okay. And he looked at the world in terms of mathematics. And it's a weird way of looking at it. I look at the world in terms of instinct. Okay. My brother looked at it in terms of logic. Everybody has their own way of looking at it, but it's by finding a balance point in all of those methods that we find the true value of peace. Okay. That's how we find cooperation, is by turning around and accepting the fact that not everybody sees the world in the same fashion. Okay. I'm absolutely certain that everybody in this room does not see the world in the same fashion. And Chris, I did not see you come in, but welcome aboard. Glad you could join us. I will be going into my inbox as soon as I'm done here. Okay, it was meant to be done today, but being tied up with family issues, really did kind of supersede everything. And then by the time I was finished with them, I was already at a point where I had to be here and take a look at what was going on with this world. Okay, and be ready to come online. But you take a look, like, like I spent a lot of money trying to convince myself that things were changing for the better. And unfortunately, that somebody else would make it happen. What I came to understand is all the tools in the world, they're great, but you're the one that better be on the ball and better pick up the tools to make use of them. Okay, the reality of it is life is going to change. We get no options on that. So again, guys, if you like the stream, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up, and do hit subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit that alert button to let yourself know when the next one's coming out, because I am going to be taking, and the idea is to take Dave up on his suggestion. That depends. I'd love to give you a definitive there. I voiced just asking who's the friendliest Damon and who's the meanest. I will tell you, it's not quite that simple. Okay. I've run into Damons that are absolutely brilliant. Okay. And I've run into some that are, they're absolutely friendly as all get out. I've run into some that will just absolutely thrive on the idea of flaying you while you're alive and think nothing of feeding your skin to a pet while you're still suffering. Okay. It's a question of who you get along with and how you communicate. I get along with most of them at this point. Okay. But that's because I don't judge them. I don't see them as any different than humans, or for that matter, any different than rocks or the air currents. These are all people. Okay. Somebody asked me one day why I can get along. Well, the reason is I don't look at people any differently regarding their race, their species, their sexual orientation, their political alignment. I absolutely look at people with a different outlook. Like if somebody turns around and makes a mistake of telling me, for instance, your opinion is wrong. I'm telling you, nobody's opinion can be wrong. Okay. your opinion, the facts you're dealing with, or the information you're dealing with, may be mistaken. And this is why I tell you that don't take my word for it. Do your own research. Raven, it says, would you like to discuss ETs you've met as a starting point on a conversation tomorrow? We can certainly, that's certainly a good place to start, Raven. You know, if I can figure out how, okay, I will, what I'll do, well, actually, I know how to in your case. I have no idea how to do the other side of it, but some of the earlier races I've dealt with, what I'll do is I will forward you a JPEG of the pictures. Okay, of the pictures that are going to be in Races of the Worlds. Okay, now if you can figure out how to get them on screen, that'd be great. But at least it'll give you something to work with. Now, understand these are pictures that I've already got the release for. So these don't have to look to see if they're copyrighted. I've already got the release. Okay. So I'm thinking that may be beneficial, but you get to figure out how to get them on screen if you choose to do that. Gee, I'm glad one of us knows how. Okay. That way, so I will get those to you before tomorrow, so you've got time to actually get them organized. They're in JPEG already, so that shouldn't be a big problem. At least not if you've got any idea what you're doing. You know, but again, when it comes to the off-worlders, do understand, when I'm looking at off-worlders, I will give a general picture. Humans, there's a lot of humans I've met that have made a staggering impact on my life. Okay. And, but will I post their pictures? Closest I will do to posting their pictures is forward a picture, and the picture that will be in Race of the Worlds of the general issue, of what a human is. Okay. If you guys haven't figured out what a human looks like, we could have a problem. What do we got here? That's neat. Here's a oh, that's why. Thought that was changed. There we go. That was an absolutely clear-cut evidence there. Derek, you posted something that I had on my stream. I had it listed as live chat, but on the YouTube, I had listed as chat. So that whole blurb that was there, I changed over to live now. That whole blurb that was there, all that came through was must watch. But now what is in there, Derek wrote, everyone must watch this Matt Ford Trouble Show podcast YouTube interview with whistleblower Mario Woods. I have no doubt about it being good. I can tell you right off the bat. Will I likely be watching it? The answer, in all fairness, Derek, is no. Not because I figure it's a bad thing. Okay. But because of the fact that I just don't tend to watch long YouTube broadcasts. And the fact that, I've got my own reasons for it, but I do encourage people to really do their own research. Do not take my opinion as gospel. Okay. It is simply the way I live my life. Okay. Now, the reality is that there is a staggering amount of information, of misinformation that gets posted. Okay. So watch everything with an open mind. And yeah, I have had people ask me, I had one person ask me point blank, why should I believe you? Don't. Okay. Why I should believe me is because, frankly, I have to live with it. And that's the only one I've got to go on. But here's the thing. Okay. You desire to be content with your life. You've got to choose what you're content with, what makes you feel better. Okay. I was talking to a chap today that said they were they were starting to really follow politics. And I looked at him and I went, go ahead. Well, that actually sort of makes sense, except one detail there, iVoice. iVoice that says Keith can't focus on video longer than 10 minutes because of his ADD. I was actually tested for ADD. I actually don't have it. What I've got is an extremely hyperactive mind. And I literally, when I talk about multitasking, if I'm having a real busy day, I will be working on writing and like I've got 3 monitors, one here, one up here, and one over here. I will have these two with different movies on them, and I'll be working here. Okay, if I'm really, and yes, I will have both volumes on. Okay, it's a weird way of doing it, but the last psychiatrist that really tested me strongly for it, the way he put it is, no, you get things done. You're not ADD. But he says, I will tell you, you would get things done more efficiently if you'd quit doing 30 at once. Now, I came to the conclusion, and it took the longest time for my other half to come to accept the fact I don't sleep a lot. I'll sleep for 2 or 3 hours, I'll be up for 4 or 5, and I'll go back to sleep for a couple. This is the way my life is going. Okay, it doesn't necessarily make sense. But what it is I've got so many things I'm working on, not the least of which is somewhere between 35 and 40 books. Okay, of which I'm starting to tie them off. I've set deadlines for myself that just don't work out quite the way I'd like. Part of that is because of the fact trying to match proper schedule with my editor is a royal pain on occasion. Okay, fantastic editor, but her schedule and my schedule can run into complications on occasion. But will I get them all done? The answer is yes. I'm working on writing projects that, I kid you not, are likely to take me 20 years to get tied off. Okay, it just boils down to doing, okay, this is what I require. So when I get off of this, I'll be probably writing, I'm suspecting, until 11 o'clock midnight tonight. Now, I'm hoping tonight is Tuesday. I'm sure I looked it up before. Just checking my calendar here. Yeah. So I will likely be running very late, primarily because I've got a lot of things I desire to get finished. Okay, and I am behind the 8 ball on a couple of things, so I've got to get things in order. But this is why I said, when you're not content with the way your life is running, it is absolutely critical that you turn around and start altering the energy pattern of the stuff that you feel is not working right, and start moving the negative stuff out of the way so you are content with what you're working with. Best ways I've seen this done, and it's the method I use. Okay, if we take this funny little sheet, okay, and just make a list of the big projects. Okay, I recommend having only 3 at a time. Okay, I have a bad habit of getting a lot more on my list, but you can get swallowed by a list. Okay, but put the big picture. For instance, I've got one sign up around here somewhere that says, I own an empire. Inner Voice Enterprises is going global. Well, it's already global. I already have published books in that I can think of right off the top of my head. 1, 2, I think 4, maybe 5 different countries. And I will be talking to somebody shortly. As soon as I've got to make another reach out to copyright to get things set in place properly. Okay, in order to make that happen right. But the big picture is I'm looking at an empire. I'm looking at a charity branch that will be 100% paid for by Inner Voice Enterprises. Nothing that ends up being donated is going to be spent on admin. Not a plug nickel. Okay. Again, this is simply a way. Now, I can look at it as, you can look at it and go, well, you can't do that. Nobody does it that way. I'm not interested in what everybody else does in the way they do it. In my opinion, if I'm going to help people, I'm going to do it properly. In my eyes, properly. And if somebody's going, I want to help with that charity, with that charitable maneuver, I'm not going to take somebody goes, here's $1, and like some charities, and I do remember which one does this. I'm not going to tell you, but I will tell you, registered charities, the massive majority of the money you donate, okay, I would lay odds that most of it goes to the administration costs. Okay, the best one I personally came across, and this is why I say I will not give you names. There's this funny little thing called slander that people will call. Actually, I believe they call it libel when you're writing it. Slander if you're talking it. But this is why I don't name names. But I've looked into a lot of charities, and what I came to understand is the best one I came across. 30 cents out of every dollar you send them goes to the actual charity. The other 70 goes to administration, meaning whoever opened the charity up is making one sheep load of money. Okay, on your good wishes for the people in trouble. The worst one I heard, okay, 1% of every dollar you sent actually went to the charity. Now, to my way of thinking, this is insane and it's extremely karmically wrong. So what I'm looking at is when I do something like that, I will take, like for me, of the money that comes in that I generate, okay, that my business generates, 10% of it will be going to charity. Okay, but charity from my standpoint boils down to this. It'll go to buying somebody a meal, buying somebody groceries as I get more money. Okay, but we're talking 10% of my net profit, not of my gross. Tracy Tracy B, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Yeah, I trust your day has been productive. But no, I will be, and for the time being, okay, it will strictly be at my discretion who gets what. Okay. It's not going to be a case of, and rest assured, even if I'm dealing with people on the street, I will not on the street be going, here's money. It'll be, here's food. Okay. The only two charities I can think of offhand that I will donate food to, not money, but food, will be the food bank and the local food banks and the local SPCA, but that'll be done in the way of food. But I'm looking at 10% of the income, which means when I look at it, let me see here. Well, I've got a chunk of money coming in. They're catching up on it. Okay. And when I say 10% of my net profit, okay, that means all of my own necessary bills, as in utilities, and this applies to everybody. When you're looking at helping people, take care of your rent, lease, mortgage, whatever it is, your utilities, make sure you've got your food taken care of, make sure you've got money set aside for a little bit of entertainment yourself. Once you've taken care of your living expenses, okay, once you've done that, then look at 10% of what is left as your charitable donation. But make sure you look at charity from the standpoint of, is that money going to the charity? Is it going to help whatever charity they're claiming? Now, I told somebody I will never. That wouldn't be a shock there, Joe. It's so much, and Joe's just saying it's getting dark here. I'm pretty sure the left corner of my backyard into the cemetery, the orbs are acting up. Neat part about some of the orbs, I mentioned this before, especially if you watch them. If you spot one coming out of a gravesite, okay, the odds are what you're seeing is that soul going to visit somebody else. It's really neat if you can track them. You watch one come out of a gravesite, it'll float across the graveyard and drop into another. Go check out the two graves. I'd probably recommend that you might want to wait till morning. You know, so when you take a look at the world, okay, it really boils down to this. Make certain you put the boundaries in place that you're content with and that you're taking care of you. And, Derek's made a comment here. Life is a precious thing. The mind is a fragile thing. Take care of it. I will tell you, the mind will stretch in ways you've never even considered. But I do agree. Life across the board is a precious thing. And there is not one type of individual or one species or one race or one color of people or whatever that is more valuable than the next, in my opinion. Okay. Wherein, thank you so much there, Emmy. You know, the reality of it is the mind fragile? Yes. But where it usually runs into a problem is when your mind is starting to pick up things that you can't necessarily explain. And then you try and cubbyhole it into something that makes sense. Doesn't always work that way. And Raven's just going, so these ghosts will be earthbound spirits that we see in graveyards. Earthbound, no, but they may simply be, um, you know, they may not be earthbound. They may just simply not have chosen not to move on. It's kind of like saying somebody that decides they're not leaving their house is a shut-in. Okay. Whereas it may just be they just don't want to go out of the house, or they've got no pressing reason to. Okay. Earthbound is somebody that desires to go home, but for whatever reason hasn't been able to figure out how. And I've dealt with people like that are really stuck. Okay. But I've also dealt with people that are really stuck with the idea of they can't get out of the house. The neat thing there, Henry, is, bloodsuckers, and depending on what you look at it, when you look at bloodsuckers, depends on what your definition is of a bloodsucker. The shadow walkers are, yes, they are vampires, but on the whole, they're decent people. They just have a different diet. Okay, I'm pretty certain that deer do not look at humans as really nice people as the race goes, because humans go out and kill them. Go out and kill deer. They'll kill cattle. This is not ranking you high on the likable list. The shadow walkers will kill people, absolutely, but they also do it because that's what they eat. Now, where are we? Oh, well, that's okay. I'm a firm believer where it comes to insects. Now, the mosquitoes, ticks, and leeches. Mosquitoes and ticks. I'm a firm believer. If an insect ends up in my house, I'm going to terminate them. I'm not going to chase them out of the house. I'm not going to carefully catch them and release them. Okay. Unless you consider catching them, smacking them with a shoe or whatever they are. Okay. Leeches have a medicinal value. Leeches are actually good for the body, and they were used for centuries as a way of cleaning blood that has gotten infected. So they are decent. They are decent entities. As for politicians, okay, politicians are, yes, they're a pain in the neck, but every single corporeal person I've run into is a politician, and many of the non-corporeals. Being a politician is not the problem. It's a question of what they're doing with it. Okay. Now, where are we? Oh. iVoice has asked, on a scale of 0 to 10, how bad do ghosts scare you? Well, since I can only go as low as a 0 being the least, I'll have to go with 0. Frankly, they don't bother me at all. I'll go looking for them. You know, I actually get along quite well with them. You know, for me, they are just simply a person without a vehicle. It's that simple. Okay, and not all people are humans. Okay, and yes, Raven, the answer to your question is shadow walkers are vampires. What you would know as a vampire. Okay. And I have to take a look. I've got notes around here somewhere on on some of the actual names, which I will have to get to. The funny part about it, like Henry's just going, yes, of course, we must defend our territory after all. Well, you do have to, but do understand, humans' understanding of territory and the rest of the world may be different. See, a human can put up a sign and say, this is my property. Here's a border. This is my property. And other humans will look at it and go, okay, that's his property. It says private property, keep out. Well, some of them will. But I will tell you, if you write in English, private property, a bear will totally ignore that sign. Okay, they will just absolutely ignore it. Oh, that's always joyful. Don't get me wrong, Adam, I don't follow politics for a reason. That's one of those topics I actually just don't delve into. I'm very careful because the problem is this. YouTube has its own policies. And I said something from a political nature some months back and got summarily warned that was not acceptable. They pulled the video because of it. Okay, which is why I will not go into those kinds of conversations because YouTube itself will shut the videos down. And I'm not interested in it, in having them shut down. Yeah, okay, I'm glad you clarified that. The answer there, Raven, is yes. There's no question there. We can, all of those can be dealt with. And I will, I've got this here. And there are some races that like I said, I will send you some of the pictures. I'm not going to send you all of them because, in all fairness, we won't have time to get to all of them anyway. Every person on the planet gets censored. Okay, in case you hadn't noticed. But understand, YouTube has very simple philosophies, and you follow what they've got a philosophy on, you don't have a problem. Remember, you must follow the laws of the land in which you are. Now, in YouTube, I don't care about the cross chatter. Okay, they're fine with it. I'm fine with it. But will I encourage political discussions or discussions, that are promoting the idea of overrunning, of overturning government or a company? Not a prayer. Okay, not going to happen. And it's because of the fact I don't feel like having the video shut down. Like I said, once was enough for me to get the message. Many people don't get that message, and you constantly see them getting put on what they call Facebook jail, or they're banned, they're shut down on YouTube or whatever. The reality of it is there are limits to what people will accept, to what YouTube lets happen. So, am I going to shut down the cross chatter? No, but I will keep an eye on it. And if it gets into too much of a political or religious bend, I will have to deal with it. But for the moment, it's been great. You guys have really stayed within the safe boundaries. So I don't have a problem with it, which I'd like to keep it that way, by the way. You know, from my standpoint, it really boils down to this. I find the things that I can deal with, that I can work, and that I can modify. Those are what I'm focusing on. Net result, I will be focusing on the books, on this new newsletter I've got coming out. And like I said, if you desire the newsletter in in on email, okay, then that's the easiest way. You can send me your email link, okay, and I can do it that way. If you'd rather a hard copy, or if you'd like a hard copy, understand the newsletter, and what will eventually become a magazine, I will not be charging for. That will be administration costs coming through my company and absorbed entirely from that. All I'm going to require is place to send it. Derek, so far it is. I thank you for asking. Derek's just asking how my son's transition into my home was. He's upset with the fact he's doing it, but it's starting. He's moved the first part of his stuff in, and the rest of it, a lot of it is going to come next week. Okay, but he's got a room all set up for him, and we're going to go and get him. I decided I'm going to go and get him one piece of equipment that he doesn't have. We're going to turn around, and because I don't have one here, I'm going to take him out shopping, and we're going to just simply buy him a brand new bed. Because the one he's got, apparently, yeah, he can get by on it, but why put him through that? You know, I look at the modern world, and in today's world, at least in Kelowna where I am, a one bedroom apartment, you're looking at $1,200 to $1,400 for one room. Now, one person working and going to school is not paying that. They're just not going to survive on it. Okay, I've got a 3-bedroom place. Okay, 3-bedroom, main floor, about 1,000 square feet, and I'm only paying $1,061. I've been here a decade. So moving him in here from an economic standpoint makes absolutely total sense. For me, it's not a big transition. It's just moving a few things around. For him, he has looked at it by his words, he's looked at it as a bit of a step backwards. Okay. And there's nothing I can do, and there's nothing I can say to modify that for him. Okay. It's just not one of those things that works. Yeah, there's a lot of people in there, and like I said, I'm looking at this chat room, and I try and keep an eye on it. Okay, it will get to that point, but I'll simply deal with it as it comes along. Unlike Dave, okay, Dave, when I first got on his radio station, on his station on Spaced Out Radio, was already set with the mindset he desired to get onto terrestrial radio. Okay, as I've told people, I'm quite willing to go on interviews. Okay, am I worried about getting on to terrestrial radio with this channel? Am I open to it? Certainly, but there's a catch. The thing I don't like about the idea is I don't like being told what I can and can't do to speak of. I mean, you want too many people there, Henry. I went down to Costco today. Talk about way too many people. Yeah, what I came to the conclusion of, Derek, is I don't blame anybody. I look at the way society is. And you got to remember, Biden may be doing things that you don't agree with. Trudeau may be doing things I don't agree with. But the sad reality of it is that it is the way we have handled society. It is the way that we have interacted with each other and demanded immediate gratification and, this issue of all this material stuff that most of us are guilty of going after. I admit, I desire the best of the best. Okay. Net result, I found a partner that I'm just not interested in letting go of. But when society has taught us that this is the way to look at the world, when you, yeah, and he's going, yeah, well, I was in West Edmonton Mall years ago. That was more than enough. Okay. I don't handle crowds that well. But that said, because of the situation, I won't be making the trip to Las Vegas this year. But like Dave said, I'm giving you a year's notice. Do your best to make it happen next year. Next year I should be able to because I'm starting to put the money aside now. So this year it just didn't work out that way. Of course, I wasn't exactly planning on my job being collapsed. Actually, I should have been because I saw it coming 5 years earlier. But like I said, if you desire your life to change, it's up to you to really start eliminating things that are not working towards that. Emmy's just going, I like to live a simple life. I have everything I need. I've got what I require, absolutely. But I do like the luxuries. I do like the trinkets. Not a whole pile of them. Like I'm working right now. I just upgraded my computer. It's working properly at this point. Absolutely, Derek. The question that you have to ask is, do they need to protect the children, which I do agree with. Derek's gone. People need to wake up and protect their children. Which are you doing? Well, that depends on your definition. Let me ask you this. In your definition, what is protecting your children? From my standpoint, I'm doing the best I can with what I've got. Do I put my kids as a priority? Absolutely. And if I wasn't putting them as a priority, you can bet when my son asked me about moving back in. Oh, I'm sorry. I read that backwards there, Derek. You are absolutely correct, in my eyes anyway, and thank you for that. The reality of it from my standpoint, unfortunately, my eyes aren't necessarily working as well as I'd like. What I did was I swapped that around. I ended up swapping the word you and R around. So what I read the first time there, Derek, was which are you doing? Instead of reading which you are doing, which is what you actually wrote. When my son asked if he could move back in, I went, absolutely. Doors open. We'll rearrange things. I always told my kids, when you move out, if you desire to move home or if you desire never to leave, stay put. Okay. I'm not closing the door. I may not always have a bed. Like for instance, in my eldest son's case, he's moving home. He's got a makeshift bed. I asked him if he had a bed. He told me yes, which was a good thing because I didn't actually have one. But now the finances have turned. Sometime this week, I'm going to take him down. Well, sometime before the end of the month, I'm going to take him with me, and we're going to buy him one and have it brought in and set up. Because from my standpoint, yes, he could put an old mattress on a set of pallets. As he said, he slept on the floor before. iVoices, before we go down that, number one, they don't see any difference between one gender, transgender, non-gender. They're all just people. And I mean that literally, because many of the off-worlders are not, they don't have the same setup. I forget what the race's name is, but I know in the second book there is a race that has trigender, and their whole method of reproduction is done using 3 partners. Okay. Humans have male and female, and whether people relate to it or not doesn't matter. Okay. But the whole transgender topic is such a firecracker. It's such a hotbed. Yes, I do have my own opinion. Aliens themselves don't see a problem with it. You want to, quite literally from their standpoint, you don't like the gender, change it. I mean, you take a look at the Corlock. Okay, the Corlock will change from male to female on a whim. Or they'll change to halfway between the two, just because they choose to. Somehow that doesn't surprise me. I appreciate that, Raven. Oh, I know why you can't post it here. I know what the problem is there. I'm guessing you can't post it because of this little problem. Where are we? That should solve that problem in a hurry. What do we got here? Yeah, Adam is saying Jisk is a good spot for cheap and comfortable beds. Yeah, I have no doubt it is. I will tell you the one big issue from my standpoint with Jisk, like Jisk does have some great stuff. Oh, did that not do that yet? Let me see. Should have done that. I could have sworn I just tried to do that. Raven, though it's not showing, I just turned you into a moderator here. I just tagged you for it, and all I'm looking at here. But when I refreshed it didn't do a thing. So I'm not certain how that works. Oh, there it is. Okay, it did. There we go. It's just not showing up on the other side. There. That should solve that problem. The way I look at it is this. Not a problem there, Raven. I appreciate it. The thing is that we have a world here that we can absolutely shift gears on, but it's going to take the cooperative efforts of everybody. Now, with that in mind, yeah, we are, we've just hit the 2-hour mark. And before I actually overstress my throat here, tomorrow, what do I got? Tomorrow is the Wednesday. Tomorrow we're going to start off by looking at the effect that clutter has in your life and where it can and or cannot help. Okay. Now, that being said, if you like the stream, do me a favor and absolutely, do me a favor to, and do give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and then share the daylights out of it. Okay, we are currently, what are we looking at? Yeah. Okay. Tomorrow we will be talking about clutter, but tomorrow night Raven's got a ad coming up here, I think. Tomorrow at 7 p.m. PST, I will be going on to the rabbit hole. Hopefully I've got that right. Okay. I'll be going on to the rabbit hole to discuss all sorts of things, and I'm leaving that up to Raven to decide what that is. But with that in mind, thank you so much for sharing your time with me. Thanks so very much. I really appreciate it. Until we meet again, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.